Okay, guys, we're starting here in 2 seconds. Let's go. Oh, I start my phone. Pat, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to do this on my phone and get the other one set up. Give me 2 seconds here.
No
Happy
problem.
to see you. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Good to see you. Well, the logo anyway.
Yeah, get this fucking thing off here. Hold on. Yeah, it's good. I got it. I got it. So, turn your volume down. We might have to turn mine down, but my speaker might be louder than yours. So, where the fuck is? Yeah. How the fuck do I turn this on? Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Boom.
Yo.
Gotta get this dumb background off now. Fuck.
It's not dumb. Looks cool.
Volume down.
Just might not apply to what we're doing today.
Man, I don't need to be in outer space, dude. You ain't Elon Musk.
Thank God.
All right. So let's do this. Guys, come on. Get in here, man. Come on. He can't fucking see you. Can you see all these guys on Sandra's screen?
I'm starting to see them. Yeah.
Okay, guys, can you get in here, guys?
Let me turn the volume up like this.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to try turning you up on the computer. Hold on. Let's test this out.
All right. Find a partner and start fighting now.
All right. So, guys. Shit, I'm echoing. All right.
That's
So,
okay.
this is the man, Pat Miletich, UFC Hall of Fame, first ever, welterweight. Coach, welterweight champion for UFC. Coach to 11. Is it 11? I always fuck that up. Is it 11 or more?
12.
World MMA champions.
Yeah. 95. 95 televised athletes and two IFL team world titles as well, which I'm actually really proud of that. That was
The IFL
tough,
was sick, man.
It was a tough
We've
league.
actually got another IFL coach here, Frank Shamrock, but
Yeah.
these guys are here gathered up. Yeah, can you mute that? The mic? Let me help.
I don't have my mic on.
Oh yeah. All right. Can you hear everybody or no? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, well, they can't hear you.
Check.
Right. Well, we're just got a little echo. I might have to move away a little bit. Okay. So, and make sure my microphone's on. So I got all this group here and they want to ask you questions with regards to maybe succeeding in MMA or succeeding as an MMA coach. And there's nobody better on the planet than you to speak to this. Who wants to go first? Who's got a good question for Pat? I warned him. It better not be stupid questions. Okay. Yeah. Blake, come over here, Blake.
Oh, nice. How you doing, Blake?
What up, big dog? Hey, so I'm curious on what your opinion is of competitors cutting weight. You've been around the sport since guys are doing major cuts, no weight classes, and I think cutting weight's coming to a little bit of a new mindset in terms of less massive weight cuts, particularly on short notice. What are your thoughts on weight cutting in general, and maybe changes in over time in that opinion?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Good to see you again, Blake. Always good to see you, buddy. And my view, because I started probably too young, cutting weight in 6th grade. So it affected, I think, because I cut weight during the winter, during wrestling season, and I cut weight also during the summer for freestyle. The only time that I ate during the entire year was during football season. That all 3 of my brothers were 6'5", and I ended up being 5'10". So it honestly probably stunted my growth. So there's some negative effects, I think, to it, definitely. But I will say this. that cutting weight, if you've trained as intensely as we did back in the day, cutting huge amounts of weight wasn't that difficult. Sure, it was tough, but we were so insanely conditioned that cutting weight, as far as intelligently shrinking your meals and burning the what remaining fat you had off your body and becoming a very efficient machine. And then also going through that weight cut, if you think about it, people do fasting now these days and they call it healthy. Well, we were doing that our whole lives as wrestlers and as fighters, in fasting and getting rid of dumping toxins and anything else that was built up in us. And so it was a psychological thing too, because you go through the suffering phase of the training camp and then the weight cut, and then you rehydrate and put calories back in. And by the time we'd walk in the cage, you'd feel literally bulletproof, as your nickname kind of tells us, right? So I think there's good and bad, but I think it's it's like putting the polish on the warrior to me. Unless you've lived it, which a lot of people haven't, they can be critics. Joe Rogan can criticize it. The guy's never cut weight like we have. He doesn't understand the intensity of a real fight, and certainly at the level that we competed at, right? So when I listen to people who are not experts, and I don't care what anybody says, Rogan's not an expert, I don't listen to him, right? So that's really what it comes down to. But you've got to be conditioned so intensely and in such good condition that cutting weight isn't that tough for you, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think doing it appropriately, having the right amount of caloric deficit and so forth, like you mentioned,
Yeah,
to become an efficient fighting machine instead of a depleted fighting machine.
sure. Great question.
Let me see if anybody else question?
Yeah. So whoever's next, come on, take this, go in the hallway, right by you.
I have a question. I've never grappled in the cage before. Do you have any drills or good throws to focus on having that wall as a barrier for people who've never competed in that area?
I think doing a lot of wall work is very important. Number one, not only takedowns off the wall or defending on the wall and understanding how to reverse positions and all of that, but certainly how to get up off the mat when you're up against the wall or pinned or trapped, because, if you're sideways against the cage, for instance, or your head's crushed against it, it's awful tough to hit an elbow escape to get out of a bad position. So there's got to be a lot of different ways to get out of really tight, tough situations. And look, there's guys out there that I trained with, and virtually impossible to take them down against the wall. Learning how to use it as your friend, whether you're against it or whether you've got your opponent against it, right? So there's, as much work as you can do, and drills deliberately, at least for us, in fighting, we would stick each other against the wall constantly, whether we were on our feet or on the ground, and force each other to get out of those bad positions. I mean, you want that. So if you look at it like this, a golfer, to be a great golfer, I've got to be really good from really terrible situations. And so I've got to throw 10 buckets of balls in the sand trap every day and hit out of it until hitting out of the sand isn't a big deal. Like I can hole from there, or put the ball four inches from the pin from the sand, automatically. It's no different for MMA, grappling, or any of that, right?
Okay, thank you. And just as an example for a drill, just put on a timer, have my opponent just keep pressuring me and just trying to stuff me, and then I just keep escaping. Is that a good idea for a fundamental drill?
I think putting a really good wrestler on top of you with your head crushed up against the wall
Okay.
is a really, really pleasant experience.
Okay. Can't wait. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for your time. Big fan. Appreciate you. My question is, as a coach, how do you kind of split your time between maybe drilling and technical parts of training and live? What would you say your percentages are? What do you focus more on? Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Good question. We spent most of the mornings would be technique, and then in strength and conditioning stuff, and then the live goes for wrestling, grappling, and striking would be in the evening. More, I guess the best way to look at it is we would do our fight training when we would actually be fighting on the clock, right? So if we had fights in Japan, we would train at 3 a.m. We would do fight training at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Just to get used to that's when we were going to be fighting in Japan, right? So, but strength and conditioning and technique should be done in the morning, and then fight speed training should be done at night.
So you say that's like 50-50 in your camps?
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. The guy with the best fundamentals and the best gas tank is almost always going to win, right? So one of my favorite sayings is, I would rather fight a great fighter in mediocre shape than a mediocre fighter in great shape. So
Makes sense.
gas tank and technique, though, are, I mean, that's what wins.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, we gotta make it just.
Yeah, first off, Mr. Miletich, definitely an honor and a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
So, as a 22-year veteran of law enforcement, I'm interested in how you might advise other law enforcement of implementing MMA and wrestling, for that matter, into law enforcement training, with the caveat of we really can't throw strikes. I just want to get your take and your opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And certainly I've spent, over, I guess, a quarter of a century training law enforcement and military, and have had the honor of doing that. And yeah, depending on the job, you know what I mean? So, of course, a lot of, use of force continuums and things like that. You've got some problems, obviously. If you're on camera striking, everybody's got a cell phone, there's all kinds of issues that have arisen over the years, and I've watched that all proceed and cause a lot of problems for you guys, to be honest with you, because you're always worried, stressed about, lawsuits and things like that, which shouldn't be the situation. But nonetheless, the fundamentals of self-defense and how to control another human's body really haven't changed that much. There's a lot of, say, for instance, people in grappling who think they're inventing techniques. That they're not inventing anything, they're rediscovering, right?
Right.
So anybody that names a technique after themselves are a little a little egotistical, to say the least. But applications of, for me, when I teach law enforcement and military at the basic level, it's always the 3 H's: the head, the hands, and the hips. If I control the 3 H's, the head, the hands, and the hips, and I know where their hands are at all times, I'm generally going to come out in a pretty decent situation. But the fundamentals of movement, I mean, look, human beings don't even, most humans, besides you guys and a few others on the planet, don't even know how to control their own bodies, let alone another human's body. That's why we see a lot of officers injured on the job, because they can't even control themselves. So it ends up in a what they call a pig pile, right? You know the term.
Right.
So
Yep.
Super important to do fundamentals of movement, mechanics, things like that, and then focusing on fundamental drills, which we teach, for even a 40-hour course during a week. They can break down the entire week in a 5-minute drill, from standing to ground to back on their feet to prone position to all those different situations, getting out of bad situations, all of it. So it's all about fundamentals, though. It always will be, right? And so controlling the 3 H's, though, is super important. And of course, the situational awareness, we know that a lot of problems arise. The guy that's almost off work, almost off his shift, got to go pick up his kid from school, whatever it might be that's distracting him, and boom, things go to shit, right?
Right.
And that's the thing. And I think a lot of folks in that world think that having a badge and a gun will protect them, and we just know it's a very hostile world out there. And I wish more officers were doing the things that you're doing. I can tell you that. So I don't know if
Yes,
that
sir.
answers I hope that answers your question. Is there anything else that you want me to
It
add?
sure does. It sure does. I appreciate your time, sir. Much respect to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Gabriel Stinson.
How you doing, Gabriel?
Good, good. My coach, Matt Hume, says hi. Let
Oh,
him know that I'm going to be
he's
down here.
incredible, man. That guy is the wizard.
Yeah. So my question was, your career was really long. Throughout the years, how has your training changed? Starting from the beginning of your career fighting, and then towards the end, how did you implement new training regimens and strength and conditioning? How did you change those things throughout your age and throughout experience?
Well, I really didn't change a whole lot, but the last few years where the things that I've done in the last few years, the matches that I've done, one was with Michael Nunn, who's a good friend of mine, best pound for pound boxer in the world for 4 years. We did an exhibition fight during the lockdowns, mind you, to get our community back out and together and kind of take back their freedom a little bit. Neither one of us even trained for that. We just got out there and did it, right? But then the last one that I did in 23, I didn't even realize that I was suffering severely from black mold infestation in my respiratory system and my blood. And I was so sick. I was so sick that I couldn't even train for that. I probably should have been in the hospital, to be honest with you. But so now I've gotten on top of, through my business partner, a protocol to kill the black mold in my body and all that sort of stuff and get rid of that. So and I'm actually now just starting to chain workouts together again to where I'm coming back health wise. But it was pretty brutal. But I can tell you, just as you age, doing a lot more drilling and a lot more endurance, strength and conditioning stuff, because you've got the experience, right? You already know how to fight. It just comes down to then endurance and a lot of fundamental drilling.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Pat, I got a question also on that part in terms of training. So, I mean, people coming from wrestling backgrounds, like you came from a wrestling background, you've seen other people come from wrestling backgrounds. Like, what important concepts or what was the transition period, or in terms of going from from just wrestling to MMA like aspect? Like, what do you think someone that's coming from that kind of background, what do they need to consider, and what things do they need to, I guess, like change as part of their game?
I think the best way to help a wrestler transition into being able to strike is for as long as it takes, having people with really good control who will stand in their face and just help them flow and learn how to strike and get rhythm. Like, wrestlers are terrible with rhythm, a lot of them, right? So, Matt Hughes, as great of a fighter as he was, had horrible striking rhythm. Like, it was very difficult to teach him striking, where other wrestlers like Robbie Lawler and Jens Pulver, they got it a lot faster, right? But I think rhythm, and I used to make fun of the wrestlers. I'd put on rap just to, like, or R&B, and go, you guys have horrible rhythm. We got to fix something. But it's getting a wrestler out of the propensity to grab all the time. Because a wrestler, once you get close, a wrestler's instinct is to grab while they're getting punched in the face, instead of learning how to move and parry and deflect shots and roll with shots and things like that. So you have to bring wrestlers along intelligently, so that they're just not running into shots constantly or terrified, frankly. So that's kind of the way that I tried doing it anyway. And it seemed to work pretty well.
Got it. And then on that notion too, then what are some good concepts, like if someone, or what, wrestlers have different strengths, but like what strengths in particular do you find that wrestlers had when it came to MMA that could immediately transition for it?
Well, I think obviously there's a lot, wrestling is, from my perspective, the most difficult sport. I think swimming's the second most difficult. Swimming's brutally hard. But wrestling is, you learn that if you give up for a second, you're going to get run over like a truck. You've got tendon strength, explosiveness, athletic ability, agility. You know where the daylight is, all those different things. That's what wrestlers get from wrestling their whole lives. And it's very difficult to take a non-wrestler and make him a wrestler as an adult. It's not impossible, but it's certainly tougher to take a striker and make him a great wrestler than it is to take a wrestler and make him a great striker, really.
Got it.
You. Pat, pleasure to speak with you, sir.
Yeah.
So born and raised in Iowa. So I'm going to go a little bit more local with my question.
Okay.
It wasn't until I actually left Iowa and joined the military that I learned about catch wrestling on my own independently. So I just realized that there was a statue of Frank Gotch that was recently brought up in Humboldt, Iowa, which is his hometown, which is a stone's throw away from where I was born and raised. Are you aware of any resurgence or renaissance and interest in catch wrestling in particular to go on top of Iowa's already very well-known fanaticism with wrestling?
Well, I think, the explosion of the UFC kind of did that for us to a certain extent in MMA, because it gave an outlet for wrestlers to go to that. So, like at my gym, even though I was a black belt in BJJ, I'm always going to be a catch wrestler because I'm always going to combine wrestling and submissions and all those things, right? So it's always going to be a hybrid where we were putting in the wrestling, the freestyle, folk style wrestling, the sambo leg locks, some of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and tying all these things together with the catch, and that made us catch wrestlers, right? It just made us catch wrestlers. And so I think all those years when I was fighting and all the other guys, that they would put those 3 bullet points told the crowd what you were all about.
Yeah.
Most of those guys had in those 3 or 4 bullet points, all-American wrestler or whatever, which inspired a lot of kids, to wrestle. I mean, for God's sakes, wrestling is huge in Texas now because of it, right? So we've seen a huge resurgence of that. And I think it's important for people. And I always tried to say, back when the Gracies in the 20s, when Helio Gracie was doing his thing, well, the boys in Iowa and Minnesota were crushing the Terrible Turks and all those guys, right? So it's important it's very important history for people to understand.
Yep. Good stuff. All right. Pleasure speaking with you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, Pat. Good to see you again. Brian from Grappling Mastery. You were just in Orlando.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I just had a quick question. We get people that want to compete in MMA all the way down to just want to defend themselves. And we have a lot of great takedowns that we could teach them. And some people struggle. What do you think if I had to pick one takedown? What's the number one takedown to teach somebody and get them to drill over and over and over that you think is going to be effective for anywhere from self-defense, MMA, jiu-jitsu tournaments, anything?
I would say, to be honest with you, singles into knee taps.
Singles into knee taps.
Singles into knee taps are the easiest takedowns to hit on any human being. I mean, I can tell you this, that there wasn't very many guys on the entire planet that could ever take Matt Hughes down, for instance, in his prime. The only takedown I could get him with was a knee tap. That tells you how effective knee taps are, because the human body, when you hit a hard single with your forehead, hitting the sternum, blasting on that single, and then hitting a knee tap out of that, the human body's just not built to absorb 45-degree attacks, right?
The direction change. Yeah. All right. That was pretty easy then. What about okay, so here's one more then. Maybe a little harder. If you wanted to take a jiu-jitsu guy and bring him into wrestling and catch wrestling, what do you think the number one MMA fight would be as an example of a catch wrestler doing well in MMA and showing what catch wrestling can do?
I think Hughes. I think Matt Hughes was, really did it so well because his striking was not great, but he was able to impose his will on people with his style, that blend again of submission and wrestling together. And that, look, that also takes some serious strength, some serious power. I mean, there's not
Yeah.
very many, pound for pound, there's just not very many human beings out there. So you got to work on your explosiveness. You have to work, so grapplers, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, not as a whole, but a lot of them, because that's what they started with in martial arts, and their athletic endeavors many times, coming from other sports, not wrestling.
Mhm.
That tendon strength, that explosiveness, that endurance, that nonstop attack mentality. It's not bred into BJJ, right? It's a
Right.
lay back and play that game thing.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, if it's especially a real fight, and you've got a really powerful, aggressive person putting it on you, I mean, you can only absorb so much abuse. So being able to scramble with people, things like that, all of those things are really important. But Hughes definitely did that style, the catch as catch can, probably the best out of anybody.
Nice. I agree. Cool. Good. I got another person.
Hey, thanks for the time, Coach.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, coming from a background of helping bring a lot of wrestlers into the MMA and striking game, those guys who came from a boxing, kickboxing background and had success or gave them a hard time, what do you think was the key to them in being able to, survive against guys with a strong grappling background?
I think good defense when they do get taken down, survive, being able to survive, tie people up, and you got to remember, strikers, kickboxers, boxers who spend time in MMA and MMA gyms end up being on their back a lot, right? So they get good at being on their back and surviving. So that's something that, people have to, and also most of the time, the wrestlers that had problems were terrified to be standing up, right? So every time a guy can escape from you and get back to his feet, the wrestler's always terrified, right? He's scared to get, nobody wants to get knocked out on, TV or in front of his friends and his family and things like that. So, but being able to survive the initial onslaught of a wrestler, that's really where they, are able to thrive, right? And get back up and use a lot of feints and fakes when they are on their feet, because then you got a wrestler flinching, shooting from a distance, confused constantly on what's real, what's not, all those things playing into that whole game.
Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let me get this. What's up? What's up, Pat? What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Chicago?
Yeah, you called me a gangbanger. You asked me if I was GD or BD. Remember that? And I told you I'm not from 63rd, so I'm a GD. Okay. Hey, Joe. So, hold on. I had questions on my phone. Hold on, because I thought you were gonna be here. So, remember you said about being conservative with your defense, and you just having this parry really close. You weren't using long guard. So, like, is there a reason why you don't want to use long guard?
You mean my arms out here, way out here, parrying?
No, like, let me see. Hey, come here. Let me see. I wasn't talking to you that way. Morgan, come here. I want you to show me a video on video. Yeah. Cameo. Like that. Like you right here, you don't do the long guard like this. You just like parry, flip. So
No,
I
I will put my arms out further, but I never stick my arm all the way out straight. I just don't, because it's, for me, with my arm completely out straight, it's a little too far out. I don't have the joint bent a little bit to be able to react better and things like that. Arms out straight, fundamentally, just I can't use them from there besides to defend. I want my limbs to be defensive and offensive at the same time. So that's the only thing, is that's why I never do that.
Okay, so that means you don't throw them looping hooks. You just throw tight hooks too.
Oh no, I'll throw a looping hook. I will, based off of fake jabs and things like that.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
throw like a Mexican hook over somebody's cross, though. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Good to see you again.
Yeah, nice seeing you too. Hey, don't be shouting. Hey, get out of here.
Hey, how's it going, Pep?
Hello.
I wanted to get your opinion as a coach. If you have new guys going into their amateur debuts or whatever, how much hard sparring should a fighter have?
I mean, I generally, as a rule, would never let people go into an amateur bout unless they had about a year experience in the gym.
Okay.
That was kind of minimum for me because I saw a kid die in a kickboxing match in Chicago who was not my athlete.
Yeah.
I was simply there as a special guest, and I was one of the people that had to climb in the ring to give him CPR to try to save him.
Right.
So for me, super important for kids to have really, really good fundamentals, and they definitely should have spent some time not getting beat up necessarily, but they should absolutely be able to take care of themselves, when they're tired, still have good fundamentals, all those things, and be in good enough condition that they're not going to have. You never want to have to call somebody's parents and tell them that their kid got hurt severely,
Right.
right. So that was my goal, to never have to call somebody's parents and say, hey, your kid's in the hospital because I was a shitty coach, right?
Got you.
Yeah.
So once a guy is more experienced, say he's had a couple bouts, he's at pro level now, he's had a couple pro fights. How much hard sparring do you think they should have, if any?
Oh, I mean, look, with modern MMA, I see a lot of sparring without headgear, with MMA gloves, with all these things. Look, put on 16-ounce gloves, put on a headgear, shin pads, pad up correctly, and go fight speed. Go fight
Got
speed.
you.
And look, I should still be, if I'm setting my takedowns up well enough with my striking, I should be able to blow you off your feet wearing 16-ounce gloves and shin pads and all of that. That's, you know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
But we always focused on keeping people healthy. Guys had there was a lot of money on the line at the time, not as much as now, but that's how they were making their living. I had to get them to their fights in good condition.
Right.
Without cuts, without all the bullshit that can happen, eye injuries from wearing MMA gloves, from getting poked in the eye, and all the other stuff. So we were big proponents of, padding up and going hard, and that was,
Absolutely.
once a week we would do 12 to 15 rounds. And then we
Gotcha.
would go run a hill for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. I appreciate it.
yeah.
Pat, you are the man. I got one last guy. He's a little newer, so I figured I'd get all the different perspectives
And
here.
then I'd like to say something about nutrition and stuff at the end.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Okay, so
Can the big group hear me?
is that
Can
a
you guys
yeah,
all-
guy? Yeah,
Okay,
everybody's
cool.
got you. Yep, 100%. Okay,
Then I'll
hold on.
talk
I'm gonna get
about
this last guy. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Pat, just a quick question here. I'm
Yeah.
just getting my feet going
Frank Shamrock. Hey, listen, to all the guys at the seminar, do not let Frank get on his cell phone. If you see Frank on his cell phone, train double him off of his feet and everybody pile on him.
Yeah, I'm still on the phone, brother. I just wanted to check in on you, see how your health is doing, how your body's holding up. We talk about hard sparring and long careers and all that stuff. You had a doozy like me, but I just want to check in personally how you feeling, how the body's doing.
I'm doing good now, Frank. I'm doing really good, man. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you're doing well as well.
Yeah, well, I'm living on stem cells now. That's my secret, and I eat that stuff for lunch.
Dude,
That's
we got to
really-
get you. We got to get you on our program, brother.
Yeah, I'll come on and do it. I've literally in the past maybe 6-9 months turned the corner on like back pain with the stem cell treatment. So it's been
Good, dude.
like
Good.
night and day difference. So yeah, it's my
Yeah.
first teaching gig in a long time. So I'm gonna
Good,
spread a little
dude.
speed. Yeah,
Do
but I just
some
want to check in with you, brother, and see how you're doing.
Frank, teach them how to do cartwheels.
That's important. It is. All right, brother. I'm gonna let you go. Give us some love on nutrition.
Peace, buddy.
Yeah, I thought we'd let the new guys have a shot at you, ask some questions.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, dude. So yeah, let's talk about the stuff that, about making superhumans with regards to food. I mean, this is one of the things I've actually been nerding out with you. I thought I was educated until I started talking to you. You're like so deep on this and on the big ag and all that stuff. I'm just going to turn it over to you. whatever you want to
Okay,
share
but-
with these guys.
All right, thanks, Jake. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing over the past, you know, I was lucky in terms of because I was sick my entire childhood with respiratory illness and a lot of other things from toxins in the environment and stuff, that I was able to do research and literally heal myself at about age 20, which allowed me to win a world title. And then I used a lot of those same protocols for athletes as well. Really important that you guys understand that 95% of all of our food, I'm sure you're aware to a certain point, at least 95% is grown with synthetic chemicals. So when you grow food with synthetic chemicals, they have no immune system. Therefore, nature is going to kill that crop. I don't care if it's strawberries or blueberries or citrus or corn or beans or anything. Nature is designed to kill what's weak. And so when you grow synthetic plants, they have no immune function. Therefore, you have to kill all of nature in that field, that orchard, that berry farm, whatever it is. And you've got to spray pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, which are warfare chemicals and failed antibiotics. So when you look around America and you see all the illness, the obesity, and everything, that's where it's all starting. Our soil is destroyed. There's no life left in it. And it's very important that you guys understand the substances on the planet that pull the environment, the bad parts of it, out of your cells, repair your damaged DNA, because the environment, the heavy metals, synthetic chemicals damage your DNA and they cause damage. And the genetics, all of us have different genetics, but it affects your genetic expression, which results in immune function. So the best way to put it is immune function is not getting the flu, not getting cancer, but it's also about winning world titles and being a superhuman, right?
So what's the best way for people to get more info? Because I know what a deep well that you have on this. Is it just following you on socials, or what's the best place for people to connect with you on this?
People can find me at Soil Savior 1 on Instagram and ask any questions they want about what they want to do with that. But you know, just know this is that the synthetics and heavy metals are the problem in the environment, and the environment dictates genetic expression and immune function. It's not your genetics. It's not when you see all the technology, the CRISPR technology, the mRNA, the genetic alterations that are happening through these technologies. It was never our genetics, guys. It's always the environment that dictates that, right? And it will affect you differently. All of us get affected. So for Blake Troop, with a lot of toxins in his body, might result in arthritis. For me, it was respiratory illness. For another one of you, it could be mental illness. It could be digestive problems. You know, it's going to manifest differently in all of us because of our genetics. That's where the genetics come in. So don't.
I know a couple of these guys that probably have mental health issues.
Right. But super important for y'all to understand is that it's never going to be you or your children's genetics that are the problem. It is always the environment, the environment, the environment. So super important to look and research on antioxidants and how those affect. But antioxidants, which are all the berries, the fruits, some vegetables, things like that with antioxidant properties, unfortunately now are all being grown with synthetic chemicals, which destroys their ability to heal you, right? So very important to find the pure substances on the planet that can pull those toxins out of your body, repair damaged DNA, and feed your mitochondria, because the mitochondria is the furnace of the cell. Super important that they can generate cellular energy. So all that stuff. I mean, I give.
So guys, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So guys, listen, reach out, Soil Savior 1 at Soil Savior 1 on Instagram. You know, connect with. I mean, there's nobody who in MMA has made more superhumans than Pat. So you guys want to listen to him. I've got one more newbie. He's new. I wanted him to ask you some questions. Okay, hold on.
Sure. Oh man.
Hi, Pops.
Scariest guy in the room right there.
Absolutely. Well, good to see you. I miss
Good to
you.
see you. Yes, sir.
I've been listening to this, everybody, and they've been asking some tremendous questions, and the answers are even better.
I
You've been
appreciate it,
studying this
sir.
for at least a month. You can tell.
I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
Well, I'm looking forward to. Hey, you said you had to get some of these good vegetables and fruits, and to get rid of the antioxidants. Is there some suggestions out there that things that might be a little better than others?
Yeah, I mean, you can search for fulvic acids that are deposits of nutrients from plants that are, anywhere from 50,000 years old to even older. Those are very powerful. We carry those, and then the organisms, the microorganisms in the soil that used to be plentiful, called extremophiles. Those extremophiles, what used to be plentiful in our food, in our soil, and in our bodies, were what not only in gut health but systemically would monitor even outside and between cells for any toxins that needed to be ingested and converted into essential fatty acids and things like that. So they were designed by nature or God, however you want to look at it, to convert heavy metals that would work their way into the soil from the crust of the earth into things, colloid minerals and essential fatty acids that provided vitality and life on the earth. So that's what we use is the original, very powerful extremophiles, a collection of them from around the world, from very hostile environments. They're very good at ingesting heavy metals and synthetic chemicals and turning them through enzymatic action into beneficial nutrients. So thereby what we do is we turn poisons into actual beneficial elements.
That's great. Well, hey, I look forward to seeing you the next time.
Yes, sir.
We missed you. We miss you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Wade. Okay. Hey, Pat, you're the man. I really appreciate you making the time for everybody here. Any parting thoughts for these guys? Let's give a large round of applause for Pat, guys, so you can hear it.
Thanks, guys. Hey, man, train, just enjoy the event, man. Enjoy the event. I apologize I couldn't be there, but enjoy the event, train hard, and find the toughest guy in the room and work out with him.
That's great advice. Guys, let's give it one more round of applause. Thank you so much, Pat. I'll reach out to you afterwards. I'll send you some of this footage, okay, brother?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Talk soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.